Hello and welcome to the Spiritual Solopreneur Podcast. If this content resonates, please like and subscribe. Today, my guest is Regyna Curtis. Regyna created the Charting Your Course system to help individuals and businesses flourish by utilizing their natural rhythm and cycles. Regyna helps people apply their natural ways of knowing and being in all areas of life and business. Her specialty is bridging energetic awareness with structural design, guiding her clients to align with their personal season's calendar to amplify creativity and scale impact. She enjoys collaborating with motivated visionaries and heart-centered entrepreneurs in finding their natural rhythm so their business feels like home and works like magic. Hi, Regina.
Hi, love it. Thank you. Wonderful intro. That was great.
You're very welcome. Well, thank you for being here. And I think I want to start with the program because utilizing natural rhythms and cycles to help people, basically get to their goals and get to the place where they want to get to. It's not something I've really come across before. So, I've heard of astrology and using that kind of a calendar, or maybe the phases of the moon or
Mhm.
something like that. But tell us about charting your course and how that works.
Yeah. Absolutely. For many years, I would say at least 20, although honestly, I think it's been my entire life. I was very interested in, always have been. I said that like it was in the past, but I still am interested in things like the cycles of the moon and, all the modalities out there for learning about yourself and archetypes and all of those things like astrology and human design and, all the things. I took a really deep dive with all of those modalities for, like I said, about 20 years. I was really like a student of learning these things and learning about myself. And one of my just kind of organic gifts that I have is being able to see patterns in things. The patterns that sometimes are not as noticeable to the naked eye or to, just kind of any person. Um, right off the bat. Like I hear patterns, I see them, I feel them, I can recognize when there's a synchronicity in things. And I can also recognize when there's discourse in something, when there's a disruption to a pattern or something's not quite lining up. And so in this 20-year deep dive of looking into all these systems of introspection and modalities and all of this stuff, the one thing that I kept coming across was none of it really addressed timing, right? None of it really addressed the fact that I am evolving as a human every single minute I'm alive. And while there were amazing, beautiful pieces of each of these systems, I felt like I was always trying to kind of like cobble it together to understand where I fit with all of that, right? It's like, well, this piece of this system, like this piece of astrology really resonates with me, but this piece of human design is really interesting, and this piece of this other thing, right? And like, the Enneagram and you name it, I've probably taken a very deep dive in it. I'm a bit of a nerd.
Mhm.
Um, and but when it came to applying it to myself, I felt like they were all kind of static. It was like, okay, well, this is who I am, and this is how I act, and this is how I respond to things, and this is what I need. But as a living, breathing human, sometimes I need something different from one day to the next. And so, long story short, what came of that is I developed the Charting Your Course system, and it uses the calculation of astrology because that was the piece of astrology that I was like, this is really important, right? This calculation of creating your natal chart. Um, and I use that to help you create your personal seasons calendar. But instead of using it to track what's going on in the planets and the cosmos and all the transits and all the things that are happening from an external standpoint, you actually use it to understand what your energy is doing, right? Where are you in your annual cycle of development? And as a person who has studied the science of learning and applied it in teaching and in business as well as in academia. I've done a lot of both formal and non-formal education in how we learn. And so one of the patterns that I noticed is that there's this cycle of development in the seasonal energies, right? I think it's pretty apparent when you just kind of look at it and you're like, seeds blossom, they turn into flowers, then they die, then there's a
Yeah.
regeneration, right? There's an obvious cycle that's happening there, but there's also a cycle of development that is apparent there. And through my training as a teacher and my exploration of learning and the science of learning and kind of looking at all these different systems, I was able to very clearly see that these seasonal energies are there for us every single year. And so taking that and taking this calculation of the calendar, right? Looking at your natal chart as a calendar rather than as a map necessarily, of kind of where things are moving and how they're interacting with you, or as a entry point to different archetypes. If you use it as a calendar, it actually helps you understand the focus of your energy at any point in the year. And from there, there's lots of magic that can happen. There's so many layers. So I'll start with that piece of it.
Um, so instead of saying, okay, the planets are aligned this way and Orion is going into the house of Pluto or so, the 12th house or whatever.
Right.
Obviously, I'm rusty on
You're
my
good. You're
astrology.
good.
But, and then seeing what that is
Mhm.
likely to affect me based on my birth date.
Right.
So what else goes into it then from there?
Yeah, and I think actually what the way that you expressed that was perfect because I think that's what astrology sounds like to most people, right? A lot of people love it and get so much out of it and do study it for years and years and years, right? And sometimes that's what it can take in order to get to the levels of understanding about yourself. Using astrology as a tool, you do kind of have to have a doctorate in it, right? Like, or work with someone who can help you interpret it. What I have done is I actually have taken the concept of that, like taken this calculation of this calendar and made a system that applies directly to you. So you don't need a doctorate in any kind of methodology, even the system that I've created, because it's all designed to help you reflect on where you are right here, right now, what's going on with you, what do you need, right? What kinds of tools and what kinds of support are going to really be helpful for you? How are you coping with challenges? Right. So it comes back into not about like, what is Mars doing right now or what planets are in retrograde? And I value those things. I find a lot of information in them helpful, but it's because I have a very deep understanding of astrology, right? Um, but how does that actually apply to me? And that's the thing that I think most people don't really know what to do with. It's like, oh, that sounds nice, or oh, this is a predictive tool, which it does have the ability to predict things. But the thing with kind of how astrology is used by the everyday person, right? The easiest way to calculate where someone is, or the easiest calculation is your sun sign. And that is based on the day you were born, right? Your sun sign is actually how other people see you. It's not how you understand yourself.
Hmm.
Your moon is how you understand yourself, but that is a harder calculation because you actually have to go through creating the natal chart. And for a lot of people, by the time they get through, like this circle comes up and it's got all these squiggles and marks and lines going everywhere, and they're like, yeah, that I'm lost, right? So to get to that information is really inaccessible. But to read a 3 sentence horoscope in the newspaper and be like, that's cute. Okay. That's really accessible because that's the one thing that you can very easily calculate. So that's kind of like the difference of how those two things work.
Gotcha. So, yeah, so instead of saying this is happening in the planets and but you can still do that to some extent. Like that
Absolutely.
that might affect me in a certain way, but
Yeah.
maybe not right now, this second, or maybe not given where I live, even.
There's a lot of factors that go into it, right? So, I think that the information is there, it is true, but whether or not it's relevant to you in this moment is what the fact is what's different, right? So, are there things happening? I'm just going to use like a really kind of cheeky example, right? Are there things happening in Australia right now that would be relevant to me? Absolutely. But are they actually like applicable to me sitting here right now in this chair? And do I need to know that information at this moment? Probably not, right?
A
It's
matter
not
of filtering.
right. It's not directly affecting me right now. Like, first, I'm going to look at what's happening in my house right now. What's happening in my body right now? Am I hungry? Like, these are the things that I immediately need to know, not what's happening on the other side of the world and how does that affect me, like, at some point,
Exactly. You're
right?
starting from within
Yes.
you
Yeah.
rather than looking outside.
Yeah. So it's an inside out versus outside in
Right.
perspective. Yeah.
And how do the actual seasons come into it or do
Yeah.
they?
Um,
You said
so
calendar.
it is a calendar, yeah. So, the seasons are not about weather. It's the
Okay.
energetic seasons, right? And so just like so I just got off a call with a woman who's in Arizona. Where are you, Beth? I can't remember.
British Columbia.
British Columbia. Okay, so your weather is actually probably a little more similar there as to Chicago as it is in Phoenix, like the woman that I was just talking with, right? So
Depends on the elevation she's.
true, that's true, actually. Yeah, she's kind of like in the deserty part, so
Okay.
I think it's probably a little different. But my point being that when I say, winter in Chicago, I'm going to think snow, I'm going to think cold, right? I'm going to think windy, all these things. But winter in Arizona is colder than it is in the summer, but it's not necessarily cold compared to Chicago, right? Or it is if you live there, it's still cold, but the difference being like when you compare these two things, there's a big difference in how we are both experiencing the same energetic season, right? But well, the same weather season, I'll say, right? We're both experiencing the same weather season, but differently. So when we look at energetics, and this is kind of another area where um, there's a really close synchronicity with astrology. Astrology has, well, first of all, I'll say for the people who are like deep in it, if you're not deep in it, skip this part, close your ears, la 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 la. Um, there are about 50, and I'm not even exaggerating, I think it's a little bit more, different ways to calculate a natal chart.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So I use the Placidus system, which it's not a word that you need to know if, like
Sounds
I said, this
Latin.
is where you la 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 la, right? Um, but that is a calculation that is looking at the whole planet of Earth, calculating at the same time. So a lot of people will say, yeah, but it's if I'm living in Australia or somewhere in the southern hemisphere and you're calculating for the northern hemisphere, are those two things similar? Like, is mine opposite? I've actually tested this system on a lot of people that live in the southern hemisphere just to kind of prove my theory or disprove my theory, that it doesn't actually matter energetically what the external seasons are. You still have this interplay. They're calculated based on all with Earth's position in the cosmos, right? So the natal chart is calculated based on these energetic seasons that are timed with all of Earth. That happens to be the calendar that we use in the Northern Hemisphere, right? So when we're looking at the external seasons or the energetic seasons, they're gonna sound a little more like what you see in the Northern Hemisphere than what you see in the Southern. But it's not about weather. Like I can't highlight that enough, right? It's not about the weather. It's about the energy of what's happening. So in the spring, things are emerging, right? New life is emerging. Um, in the summer, we're kind of like energizing and expanding and blossoming, right? That's that kind of expansion energy of summer. In the fall, we're examining, right? The trees, for instance, are starting to examine what resources they need to give to others and what resources they need for themselves. So they let the leaves go, they pull their resources back in and prepare for the winter, right? So there's kind of this like refinement that's happening, an examination of like, what do I actually need here? Do I need to make some adjustments? And then in the winter, it's about embodying, right? Really coming back in, making sure you have what you need, resting, um, innovating, right? There's a lot of things that happen, but it's the embodiment of all the things that you learned throughout the year so that when you step back into this new cycle, you're stepping in anew.
Hmm. What about happens if you have somebody like me who doesn't, I don't, I don't follow that because fall for me is when I come alive.
Yes. So that's actually a perfect example of why I tell people to look at their personal seasons, right? I haven't looked at your chart. Did you? I don't remember if I sent you the thing to chart your course or not. But what I would imagine, that's okay if you didn't, based on that one comment, is that you probably your seasons do not align with the external seasons, right?
I would say no.
You are probably more likely in your summer when it's fall outside, right? Or even in your spring, like kind of late spring, right? This is where you're coming alive. You're starting to like the blossom and the seeds are coming to life and there's like a lot more energy. So this is exactly why I tell people to look at your internal seasons rather than these external time frames because let's use New Year as an example. We're creeping up on it, right? I don't know when this will air, but right now when we're recording it, we're coming up to the end of the calendar year. One of the reasons why I actually took this system, when it first started, it wasn't a system, it was just a calendar, right? It was just a way of understanding my own timing. Started with me. And I had been tracking my own timing because, like I said, I spent about 20 years digging deep into all these systems, trying to just understand myself a little more. And um, every year it drove me crazy when people would start to say, New year, new you, start anew. And I'm like, we're in the middle of winter. This is not time to start new things, right? Now, I am a January birthday, right? January 7th is my birthday. So I'm like, yeah, my birthday is right at the beginning of the new year,
You should be one of those.
right? Should be, but I'm not. My internal calendar actually starts right around the time of spring. And so I always felt like, how am I supposed to be? Like, yes, I understand it's a new year for me, but energetically, it never felt right, right? Now, can I sit down and write a list of resolutions like the best of them? Absolutely. Now, the reason I believe that is true is because externally, the season that we're in is actually midwinter when we switch, right? When the calendar changes from one year to the next, we're in the midwinter energetically. Okay. Now, seasonally, weather-wise, that's going to depend on where you are, right? But energetically, we're midwinter, and that's actually the point where I like to think of the charting your course system like this annual cycle of development as climbing a mountain each year, right? You get this kind of like inspiration in the spring, like, I want to go on an adventure. What adventure am I going to go on, right? So you kind of like walk out into the world and you're like, ah, there's a mountain that looks pretty cool, let me go in that direction, right? Like you're drawn to something and you kind of start walking towards that mountain, right? And while you're doing that, you start to really understand some things about yourself and you understand what resources you have, what capacity you have, and what resources you don't have, and you might need to gather from something else, right? And you reach this kind of level of you have a different perception about yourself, right? You start to understand, like, oh, okay, I've got some. I've got some chops. I've got some things about me, and then there's some things that maybe I need to like think about a little bit more. And this is really that spring energy. Something new is emerging, and you're kind of walking towards this thing. And then you cross into summer and it's like you're getting closer to the mountain and you're like, oh, I'm in the like, the valley below and the flowers are there and you're like, ooh, this is playful. This is kind of fun. And you start, expressing yourself in a little different way because you've understood some stuff around yourself. And you start to experiment like, do I want to go up that mountain or do I want to play in this field? Like maybe I want to stay here and make a daisy chain. Like, I don't know. And then you enter into the canopy, right? So you come in and you're in the forest now and you're like, huh, there's a trail there. Maybe I'll go up that trail. There's a little stream over here. This seems pretty satisfying. I want to do this. And you just kind of start to like lean into the adventure, right? To feeling like, what would be joyful? Can I just like climb over this log or can I climb this tree? Or maybe I just want to sit here for a little while and look at the view or camp under the stars. Um, then you enter into your fall, and as you enter into that space, it's like now you're co-creating, right? You're the experience, you're co-creating it with the mountain, you're co-creating it with the other travelers that you find along the way. You're just kind of like making your way through and starting to use your resources in a different way. And then there's a time of reflection, right? You start to kind of like gain some elevation and you've got to say like, oh, wow, like I can see things differently now. And there's kind of a different view from up here. What does that mean to me, right? What do I know now that's really important that I need to kind of like help me get through this journey? And you come into the place of patience. Now I'm halfway up this mountain. It just got really steep. What have I done? I got to see this through now because if I turn around and go home, then this is like, that's not going to be any fun. But I know I've got to kind of like use my resources differently. And I've got to have faith that I set out on this adventure for a reason and I'm going to make it to the top, right? So you've kind of like got to really gather that patience. But then you get to the top and you see things from a different view and it's like quiet and there's a celebration. I was like, I made it, right? This is when you cross into winter and it's like, yes, I made it. Now, so many people rush right through that phase. And that's the point that we're in when we cross over from one year into the next. There's a celebration. Like this, when I look at this energetically, you know how I said that I see patterns, right? I'm like, of course we celebrate at this time of year. It is a time of celebration. It is actually a pinnacle. Like we've made it to the top. But flash, it's over in a day, right? We celebrate, we honk the horns, we celebrate at the exact second of midnight, and it's like, okay, on to the next. What are you going to change about yourself? How are you going to do things differently, right? Now, this actually is the point where, like I said, in this cycle, it's midwinter, and we are sitting at the top of the mountain. But have you ever hiked a mountain, Bev?
No.
No? Okay. When you get to the top,
A small hill, maybe.
a small hill. It's probably the same.
Okay.
But I grew up in Vermont, so like there's a lot of mountains,
Yeah.
right? But when you get to the top, you're like you're out of breath. Or at least I am. I don't know. Maybe some people who hike a little more frequently than me are not out of breath, but it's okay. You sit down and your blood's pumping, right? Because whether or not you're out of breath, you just climbed up a mountain, right? You've got some like adrenaline pumping, you've got some blood pumping through your body, but you sit down to take in the view, and there is this silence that is indescribable. Like you can hear your heartbeat, you can hear the sound of silence. Like it has like there's a visceral sound. Like I don't even know how to explain it other than
Mm.
like it's just quiet. And there might be some birds or there might be a little bit, but it's like so quiet and serene. And suddenly you're just in a different space. You're looking around and you can see how you got to where you were coming from. You can see all the possibilities of where you could go. You know exactly how you got where you are, right? And this is the point energetically that we get to right around New Year's when everyone's putting pressure on to say, now that you're in this fresh new energy, which you're not, now that you're in this fresh new energy, what are you gonna do, right? I call this the sojourn is what I call each of these kind of like little mini adventures. Um, you're in the space of innovation. You are your most innovative at that point, right? And so, yeah, pretty much anyone. And that external energy is like, this is what we're experiencing in the external world, right? The energy of the seasons around us is pointing to innovation, where you have this clarity like you've never even known before. And so, yeah, you can sit down and write, I want to change this and I want to do this and I want more of that and I'm going to be this. And you can write that list with the best of them. But you still have to come down the mountain before you can actually put things into place, right? There are tons of statistics out there about how most New Year's resolutions fall flat within 10 weeks. Most of them shorter than that, actually,
That
right?
sounds long. I would say
Yeah,
shorter.
I think it's actually more like 3 weeks, but like some people are just like really, really like, I'm
Going to
gonna
the
do
gym?
this, right? 10 weeks after the new year, most people have like long forgotten all of their resolutions or intentions or whatever word you want to use for it, right? And it's because energetically, we do have that clarity. But then we have to come back down the mountain. You have to come back down, get in your car, go home, make a snack, go to bed. You're tired, right? And by the time you wake up in the morning, you're like, what did what did I say I was going to do when I was sitting up on that mountain, right? Like, I don't know. Like my cat needs food and my kids are going to school,
Life.
and my
Life
grandmother's
gets
calling.
in the way.
Life, right? And so I would get so annoyed hearing all these things. And I was like, you know what? This is the right time to document this information, right? Document your insights from the year, document your process of how you got there, and then use this time between the new year and spring starting to really fortify your belief, right? Fortify what resources do I need to gather? How, like, spend your time really envisioning what it is and allowing yourself to step into the role of the person who's bringing that to be, right? Rather than deciding one day and trying to make it happen next.
Right.
Now, there are people who, one, have just like an amazing amount of tenacity and can make something happen, right? Two, there are people who their personal calendars, their personal seasons actually do align that support that, right? So if you happen to have personal seasons that align where you're stepping into your spring right around the time that externally we're at that mid-winter point, then it actually does align that you can build that momentum and keep going far easier than most people. But for a lot of people, that's not the case. And they start to blame themselves. Why can't I do this? Right?
Can't
What's
follow through
wrong
with
with me?
anything. Yeah.
Yes, right? Like all those stories that come in.
Mm.
But you know what? Those stories were created because there probably was something that your energy has probably been off, right? From the world around you your entire life. Like you said, I am energized in the fall, right? Like everything's kind of quieting and coming to like people are wanting to get cozy and put on sweaters, right? I have a lot of clients who are in their like spring when we're going into the autumn externally, and they're like, I always thought I was just weird, right? I always thought there was something wrong with me where I just want to like be out in the world and be excited and I've got all this energy and everyone's like, what's wrong with you? Don't you just want to like sit by the fire and like cozy up? And they're like, no, it's time to party.
There's nothing wrong with sitting by the fire because you can actually come up with a whole lot of ideas while you're
I
sitting by
bet.
the fire
Yeah, yeah. I
as
mean,
well. You're out of the heat. That's what it is for me a lot.
yeah.
I'm energized with the coolness.
There's so many
So
reasons
many
why, right?
ways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So the calendar is the actual calendar. Is this an actual physical piece of paper or what does this thing look
Yeah.
like?
So I do actually have a physical calendar that I track the external seasons, but your personal seasons calendar, I have it free on my website. You can actually go and you do have to create your natal chart first, and I have a recommended site for that that makes I walk you like step by step through it. But if you go to @maitri.com/charting your course, I have on there an actual like just free step by step. Here's how you create your personal seasons calendar. Because I think it's really important for everyone to have access to this information and to be able to like to explore it if it really resonates for them.
Right.
Um,
And
so
once they have the calendar, what's the next step? Or is there instructions that
yeah,
comes with?
there are instructions. So the next step, so I actually, along with the calendar, I provide some questions. So each season and each, like I said, sojourn. So you'll go through your early spring, mid-spring, late spring. That's what a sojourn is, right? Just kind of the smaller focus areas of each season. I have a question. And so for the season that you're in, there's this question that you can sit with daily. You can apply it to your projects, right? You can apply it to your relationships. It really does apply to any of your personal or professional development. And it helps you understand what the focus is right now, energetically for you, so that you can prioritize your projects, right? Prioritize the conversations that you're having, prioritize the tools and the self care and all of those things. Um, Beyond that, and that's all available. Anybody can access it. You can use it as much as you want. Um, Beyond that, I do also have a workshop that I offer called The Journey of Becoming You. And it's really helping you kind of set up your basic toolkit of learning how to use this system to make sure that you're able to apply it to your projects and apply it to your life in a way that's really tangible and usable. Um, the questions are a great place to start. So if you're just kind of curious, definitely sit with those. I have been using this system myself since 2017. And so it's been quite a while at this point, and I still, even though I created this system, I still use those same questions in my journal to reflect on every day. Yeah.
Beautiful. So it's something that you use it every day,
Oh
basically.
yeah.
Yeah.
I use it every single day. That's the kind of like entry point level, right? The basic level. I also do work with I work a lot with entrepreneurs, but I have actually it's applicable also into corporate spaces and teams. But it's any level of personal, professional, or business development. So one of the things that I really love to do with entrepreneurs is to take your business blueprint, understand where each of the like let's say you have different brands or you have different product lines or you have different services, and understand where they live seasonally, and then use the system to help you basically multitask so that you can get a lot of things done without burning yourself out, right? So it's all about leveraging your energy, understanding the seasonal kind of the cycles that things move through, so you always know there's predictability in the unpredictable.
Right. That's fantastic. Is there any type of person who is particularly would benefit from it more than anybody else? Like somebody that's into nature or
That's a great question. I think that the person who benefits from it most is the person who's curious. So, I mean, yes, it could be anybody, right? But that's kind of a bullshit. Wait, can I say that? That's kind
sure.
of a
It's only YouTube.
Okay, I'm like, wait a minute, is there an explicit filter? I probably should have asked before I started talking.
No.
But it's kind of BS, right? To say that, oh, this is applicable for anybody. It is, but also like, yeah, I think the person who really benefits from it is somebody who's curious, who wants to actually, whether you are currently feeling like you're a little bit of a misfit, or at some point in your life you were like, oh yeah, I'm a little different from most of the people around me. And you want to leverage that, right? You want to just kind of like understand how to leverage who you are in a more productive and more enjoyable way. That person, right?
Right.
Whether you're currently feeling like I said, if you're currently feeling it as detrimental, or even if you're like, yeah, I know who I am, I'm a total weirdo, I love it, and I want more of it, right? Like, how do I use this better? That person as well, right? That's probably the person that I'm going to work with one on one. That's the person we're going to like have a lot of fun using this together.
Yeah. And I'm thinking somebody who's maybe done an astrology chart or done their human design chart or something like that and kind of
Those
want to go
people,
to the next step.
yeah, those people tend to really love it. but it is equally as like the people who are like, I don't know what to do with astrology. I don't know what to do with human
Hmm.
design. It's like really complicated. Tend to think, oh, this is actually usable. Like I can do something with this. I don't have to, like I said, you don't have to have like a doctorate degree to in astrology to understand this. But the people who do, the people who are really into it, tend to be really into it, right? They're like, oh, so then I can use this and this gets even better? Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
Can you give me a quick example of, without naming names, of someone who, sticks in your mind who has used the system to accomplish something in particular that,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, so I really love that a lot of the way that I work with my clients, it's a co-creation, right? So, so there's this one person that I can tell you is how do I describe her? She is really good at listening and following directions, right? She is a little bit of she definitely has a neurodivergent mind where she kind of like locks in on something and is like, oh, that's the thing. I'm going to just like move this forward, right? That I'm going to stay the course. I'm going to just do this thing. Um, and she's actually a really great client because she sees the system and she can apply it directly to herself, right? So um, once she understood that the seasonal energies, there's a cycle and it can tell you this is what you do next, right? She was like, so I just have to learn how to identify where in the seasonal energies these are, and then I always know what to do next. And so she's been able to use it in her business, in her life, like her family. I actually know her whole family, and she's like, we're a charting your course family. We all know our calendars. It's kind of adorable. They'll be like having a conversation and be like, wait, what season are you in again? So that they can they can
Yeah,
know how to respond.
exactly.
It's adorable. Yeah. But she applies it in her life and definitely in her business. Like we've done a lot of work to help her kind of like map out the blueprint of her business. And she's one of the most like effective people at moving a bunch of things forward at once. It's amazing.
Wow,
Yeah.
fantastic. So where do you see charting the course going? How would you like to see it evolve?
I honestly, I think it's changing the way we work. That's my goal. I want it to change the way we work so that we really are honoring and valuing the things that are unique to us, right? Like we can show up whether we're working in a corporate space or an academic space or an entrepreneur or just like doing life work, right? Um, that we really can have a better way to understand and apply what we need right here, right now in this moment, and to have compassion and reverence for that in others.
Mm,
It's a lofty goal.
it is, but worthy, very
Thank you.
worthy.
Just a small thing, you
Just
know.
a small thing.
Yeah.
Fantastic. What message would you like to leave the audience with today?
So I kind of I say this a little bit I say it all the time. I'm like, just be you, boo. You know, like my coworker told me one time because I'll say it all the time, like, just be you. And she's like, I hear you say it, but I hear you say it like, just be you, boo. So you'll see that like on my LinkedIn and stuff. But really, that is the thing. Just be you. That's what the world needs. We need more of whatever quirky, weird, wonderful, wild thing is truly who you are and how you be. Do that.
Yeah, with compassion, hopefully.
Oh, yes, yes. Honestly, though, I feel like once you get past the layers of somebody else's expectations or somebody else's like understanding what's at the heart of who you are, it really is compassion, right? It really
Yeah,
is at the heart, right? It's love. At the heart, it is compassion. At the heart, it is humanness.
yeah.
And so if you can go into that and share from that place, it's beautiful.
It's just being you, boo.
Just be you, boo. Exactly.
I don't have my boo hat on. I have a hat that says boo on it.
I love it.
Used to be my name when I was a kid.
That's great.
Anyway, Regina, thank you so much for being here.
Um,
How do people get hold of you?
Yeah, I think the best way is to just hop on my website. I do have a community of we work together, we gather and co-work, and we do personal, professional, and business development. It's called the Soul Wisdom Leaders Lounge. So come hang out with me there. But check out my calendar. I host dozens of free events every month, so you can come and check it out and hang out with us, and definitely chart your course.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. It's a fantastic system you've got going.
Ah, thank you. This was wonderful. I appreciate being here.
All right. And I'm Bev Young, and I'm a web designer and digital marketing specialist, and I help spiritual and conscious entrepreneurs get maximum credibility and visibility online with websites they love and that work. See you next time.